Joining me now is Stephen E. Orr. He's the founder and CEO at Quasar Markets. Stephen, welcome to NYSE TV Live.
Good morning, Ashley. Thanks for having me. It's hard to follow Make-A-Wish, huh?
Yeah, so Stephen, what market storylines are you paying the most attention to this week?
Yeah, obviously it's Jackson Hole. I mean, all eyes are going to be on the Fed and what Powell does. Look, we expect these 25 basis points. I think sometimes the markets are expecting the 50 basis points, and I think they're going to be a little disappointed. It is 25 basis points, but quite frankly, we're seeing a little bit of cracks in the economy as we're seeing these numbers coming out of housing and commercial real estate. So I think all eyes are definitely on Jackson Hole. It literally might be the most watched Jackson Hole in history.
So, Stephen, as just to shift into retail earnings, they're kicking off later this week. What is your biggest takeaways from earnings season thus far?
Well, so far in earnings season, we're seeing the beats, right? We're seeing lower numbers coming out a little bit, but we're also seeing some bright spots. AI obviously showing some serious bright spots. We're also seeing some bright spots in the retailer. A little bit, they're already weathering the tariffs. I think I heard your last person saying something about that the numbers aren't as good coming out. But I think the retailer are still spending money. There's money out there. You know, if you look at it from the perspective of the NYSE, IPOs are still hot. It's one of the hottest years on record right now. And I think this is good that you're seeing the retailers still having money to spend. Now, there is a little bit of numbers concern in the jobs numbers, of which we're seeing Powell also have concern. But I think those are also abating as well. So right now, while there are cracks in the economy, right now the retailers, and you're going to see Walmart this week. So I'm really excited about Walmart numbers and seeing what they have to say.
All right, and Stephen, from what you're seeing in these earnings, how are companies approaching tariffs, and what do you think it could mean for the rest of the year?
Yeah, good question, Ashley. I mean, the tariffs has always been a nervous situation around these retailers. They don't know what their margins are going to be. They don't know whether or not they're going to raise their own prices. Are they going to pass it on to consumers? And so far, they have eaten it themselves. They've not passed it on to consumers as much as most people thought that they would. But we also know that in the retail sector right now, that we are seeing to abate it a little bit. We're seeing Powell talking about tariffs. We don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to affect. Well, we are seeing those numbers starting to correct a bit. And so we know that there's coming out with 100% tariffs, 150% tariffs, but yet only 20-30%. So it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So right now the retailers are starting to eat that a little bit. We're not seeing the inflation as heavy around the retail. So it's not a bad thing right now.
Stephen, the NYSE has been at the forefront of recent IPO activity, Circle, Figma, and Bullish, just to name a few. Why do you see this year as an inflection point for IPOs?
You know, that's a great question too, Ashley. One of the biggest things about it is that the amount of meat on the bone, as we say on Wall Street, right? When they come out and they hit the floor, there is still jumping 100 to 200%. It's great. You know, when you saw Circle the other day coming out and Bullish, they were still pushing higher. Figma had one of the biggest jumps in history. This is not quite 2020 and 2021, but we're on track to having the biggest jump off of the cash market. So that's a very good thing. And that also means that the retail is also buying. It also means that there's liquidity out there, which is always good for the markets. So that right there tells me a lot about the consumer.
Are there any market storylines right now that investors aren't talking much about, but you think could become a headline in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think that there's cracks in the real estate investment trust, the REITs. I also think that there's issues coming out around interest rates. So if we don't get these massive cuts that the White House is looking for, it could affect real estate, especially in the housing market. And I think it could have a bigger impact there, probably to the downside. I know that with, when you're seeing a couple of things, AI, I don't think that's even factored into the markets yet. We're not even the first inning of AI, and we're not even touching that right now. And I think a lot of the investors are not understanding AI and the normal way that we normally understand manufacturing or the normal retail sector, because AI is really going to change how we live and work and play. You're going to see also in the development sector, software development, you're going to see a lot of people probably unfortunately lose their job because AI will be replacing those jobs. So there is a storyline around that. I also think there's a storyline around healthcare as well. As we see the AI, we're seeing new drugs coming about faster. Healthcare, these new obesity weight drugs, GLP-1s, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk. I think they're just in the first inning there too as well. So honestly, there are a few storylines that we've missed on the alpha. I think we've got a good storyline all the way through the end of the year, actually.
Thank you to Stephen E. Orr, founder and CEO at Quasar Markets.
Thank you, Ashley.